Hi, I'm Maya. I thought family meant belonging, acceptance, love. Instead, on my 35th birthday, I discovered they'd planned their annual reunion at the mountain resort, where we'd vacationed for 20 years and deliberately left me off the guest list. Not forgotten, not overlooked, purposefully excluded. But the worst part wasn't being shut out. It was realizing I'd been bankrolling their lifestyle for over a decade while they treated me like an ATM with a pulse. And when I finally stood up for myself, they tried to destroy me. Before we dive in, what time are you listening to this and where are you? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story too. Because some storms you don't survive, you outgrow them. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my corner office. The subject line seemed innocent enough: Harrison Family Reunion 2025, save the date. My coffee mug paused halfway to my lips as I clicked it open. Everyone was CC'd. My brother Marcus, my sister Elena, cousins from both coasts, even Great Aunt Dorothy, who barely knew how to use email. The message bubbled with excitement about returning to Pine Ridge Mountain Resort, the same place we'd gathered every summer since I was 7. But my name wasn't on the recipient list. Not in the to field, not in the CC field. Nowhere. I refreshed my inbox 3 times, certain it was a technical glitch. Then I checked my spam folder, my promotions tab, even my archived messages. Nothing. The pit in my stomach told me what my mind refused to accept. This wasn't an accident. I leaned back in my leather chair, staring at the Seattle skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder, becoming the youngest VP at my firm, and somehow I was still invisible to the people who were supposed to love me most. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Sophia. Saw your mom's Facebook post about the reunion. You going? I hadn't seen any Facebook post. Of course I hadn't. I'd been blocked from my mother's profile 6 months ago after I'd politely declined to pay for Marcus's third failed business venture. That evening, I arrived at my parents' house for what they'd called an urgent family dinner. The Tudor-style home in Bellevue looked exactly as it had my entire life: pristine hedges, perfect paint, and a facade that hid more than it revealed. My mother Victoria greeted me at the door with her practiced smile, the one she reserved for disappointing situations. Maya, you're late. Traffic. I said, though we both knew I'd arrived exactly on time. The dining room smelled of pot roast and judgment. My father Richard sat at the head of the table, already nursing his second scotch. Marcus lounged in his usual spot, scrolling through his phone. Elena had claimed the seat closest to Mom, as always. Sit, Dad commanded, not looking up from his plate. I took my place at the far end, the seat I'd occupied since childhood. The one closest to the kitchen, convenient for fetching things others needed. Dinner progressed with mechanical precision. Pass the potatoes. More gravy. How's work? The kind of small talk that fills space without meaning anything. Then, between bites of overcooked vegetables, Mom set down her fork with deliberate care. We need to discuss finances, she announced. My chest tightened. These discussions only went one direction. The resort raised their rates, she continued. The reunion package is now $50,000 for the week. We'll need everyone to contribute their share. Everyone? I asked carefully. Elena jumped in. Well, those attending, obviously. It wouldn't be fair to ask people to pay if they're not coming. The words hung in the air like smoke from a snuffed candle. I see, I said. And who exactly is attending? Mom's eyes flickered away. Oh, you know, the usual group, the core family. Core family. As if I were some distant relative who'd married and not their own daughter. Marcus finally looked up from his phone. Don't make this weird, Maya. You're always too busy with work anyway. I've attended every reunion for 20 years, I said quietly. When it was convenient, Elena added with a small shrug. Remember when you left early 3 years ago for that conference? The conference that had led to my promotion. The promotion that had enabled me to pay off Dad's gambling debts, cover Mom's medical bills, and fund Elena's wedding. But who was keeping track? "So I'm not invited," I stated. Not a question. Dad's face darkened. "Don't be dramatic. We simply assumed you'd be traveling like always. The rooms are limited this year." Limited. At a resort with over 200 rooms. I stood slowly, my napkin falling to my plate. "I need to use the restroom." In the powder room, I gripped the marble counter and stared at my reflection. Same brown eyes that matched Dad's. Same high cheekbones as Mom. Same stubborn chin as Elena. But somehow, I was the stranger at their table. My phone buzzed. A Venmo request from Marcus. $500 dinner contribution. For a dinner at my parents' house. For food I'd barely touched. For the privilege of being told I wasn't welcome at my own family reunion. I declined the request and walked back to the dining room. "I should go," I announced. "Early meeting tomorrow." Mom didn't protest. Dad didn't look up. Elena was already clearing plates, humming to herself. As I reached the front door, Mom called out, "Maya, you'll still help with the reunion costs, won't you? Family supports family." I turned my hand on the doorknob. "Family supports family," I repeated. "I'll remember that." The night air hit my face like cold truth. As I walked to my car, I noticed my old bedroom window, now Dad's study. They'd renovated the year after I'd moved out, erasing every trace of the daughter who'd lived there. But I wasn't erased. Not anymore. I sat in my car for a long moment, engine running, heat blowing against the January chill. Then I pulled out my phone and searched Pine Ridge Mountain Resort ownership information. What I found made me smile for the first time all evening. They wanted to exclude me from the reunion fine. But they'd forgotten one thing: I'd been managing hostile takeovers for 5 years, and family businesses. They were just another type of acquisition. The research consumed my weekend. I spread financial documents across my dining table like a general planning a siege. Pine Ridge Mountain Resort wasn't just struggling, it was hemorrhaging money. The current owners, an elderly couple named the Weatherbys, had listed it quietly through a commercial broker. No fanfare, no public announcement. They wanted a quick, discreet sale to someone who would preserve the resort's family atmosphere. I almost laughed at the irony. By Sunday evening, I'd run the numbers 17 different ways. My savings investment portfolio and a strategic loan would cover the purchase price. It was aggressive, risky even. The kind of move that would either secure my future or destroy it. But as I stared at my laptop screen, all I could see was Elena's dismissive shrug, Marcus's eye roll, my father's refusal to even look at me. I scheduled a call with the broker for Monday morning. "Ms. Chen, you understand this is a significant investment," Harold Weatherby said over video chat, his kind eyes crinkling with concern. "Running a resort isn't like managing a portfolio." "I understand," I assured him, "but Pine Ridge means something to me. My family's been coming there for 20 years. His wife Margaret leaned into frame. "Oh, are you one of the Harrison girls? We've so enjoyed hosting your family reunions." One of the Harrison girls. Even strangers knew my family better than my family knew me. "Yes," I said simply. "I'm Maya. The one who always helped our staff clear tables after the dinners." Margaret said, smiling. "I remember. You were such a thoughtful child." Thoughtful. Also known as desperate to be useful enough to be loved. The negotiation took 3 weeks. I liquidated investments, secured financing, and signed papers with hands that didn't shake. The closing was set for February 15th, 2 weeks before the family reunion. I told no one. Meanwhile, the family group chat, the one I was actually included in, buzzed with reunion planning. Elena had created a detailed itinerary. Marcus debated menu options. Mom fretted about room assignments. No one asked if I was coming. On the day I signed the final papers, I sat in my attorney's office holding the deed to Pine Ridge Mountain Resort. 400 acres of mountain paradise, 200 rooms, 3 restaurants, and 20 years of memories, all legally mine. That evening, I began the delicate process of unwinding my financial entanglements with my family. First, the recurring transfers. $2,000 monthly to mom for household expenses. Cancelled. The autopay for dad's country club membership. Terminated. Elena's gym membership. Marcus's car insurance. The family phone plan I'd been managing since college, all systematically removed from my accounts. Next came the credit cards. I was an authorized user on several family cards responsible for paying balances they racked up. I removed myself from each account and froze the emergency fund I'd established for family crises. The investment account I'd set up for my parents' retirement, the one they didn't even know existed, I changed the beneficiary to a charity for financial literacy. Each click felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me. My phone started ringing at 11:47 p.m. Mom first. Maya. There must be some mistake. The credit card was declined at the grocery store. Then Dad. What the hell did you do? The club called about my membership. Elena. This is really petty even for you. Marcus just sent a string of expletives via text. I turned off my phone and went to bed. The next morning, I woke to 57 missed calls and twice as many texts. The family chat had exploded into a digital wildfire of accusations and demands. I composed one response to the group: Family supports family, remember. I'm simply redirecting my support to where it's appreciated. Best wishes with the reunion planning. Then I left the chat. The liberation felt like breathing pure oxygen after years of smoke. I threw myself into resort preparations with the energy of someone who'd finally found their purpose. The Weatherbys had agreed to stay on through the transition, and Margaret proved invaluable. She walked me through every system, every tradition, every corner of the property. The Harrison family always books the evergreen wing. She mentioned one afternoon, showing me the reservation system. They've had the same rooms for 15 years. About that, I said. I'll be updating our booking system. All reservations will need to be reconfirmed through the new management. She raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Margaret was too professional to pry, but I caught her small smile. 2 weeks before the reunion, I sent a professionally worded email to the address my mother had used for coordinating "Dear valued guests, Pine Ridge Mountain Resort is under new ownership. All existing reservations must be reconfirmed through our updated system. Please contact our reservations department to secure your booking. We look forward to welcoming you. Best regards, Pine Ridge Management." I didn't sign my name. Not yet. The panic was immediate and delicious. Mom called the resort directly, reaching our reservations manager, who'd been thoroughly briefed on the situation. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Harrison, but I don't show your reservation in our system. Would you like to make a new booking? Our Evergreen Wing is currently available, though rates have been adjusted to reflect our recent renovations. The new rates, triple the old ones. Market value for what the resort actually offered, not the family discount the Weatherbys had kindly extended for 2 decades. Elena tried next, then Marcus, then Dad. Each received the same polite response. The reservation system showed no record of their booking. How unfortunate. Would they like to book at the current rates? The family chat, which I monitored through Sophia's phone, devolved into chaos. "This is insane. We've been going there for 20 years. Someone needs to speak to the manager. I'll call Harold directly. He'll sort this out." But Harold was in Bermuda enjoying his well-earned retirement and referring all calls to the new management. Finally, inevitably, they connected the dots. It was Elena who figured it out first. She'd always been the smart one when she bothered to use her brain for something other than manipulation. "It's Maya," she posted in the chat. "She's behind this somehow." "Don't be ridiculous," Mom replied. "Maya doesn't have that kind of money." "Check her LinkedIn," Elena shot back. Silence fell over the digital conversation as they discovered what I'd never bothered to tell them: my actual job title, my real salary range, my professional accomplishments they'd never asked about. The next message came from Dad: family meeting, tonight. Everyone. The response was swift: Maya's not in this chat anymore, remember? More silence. Then from Mom: someone call her. But I'd blocked their numbers 3 days ago. As I stood in my new office at Pine Ridge looking out at the snow-capped mountains, my phone rang. An unknown number with a Seattle area code. I let it go to voicemail. Maya, it's Marcus. Using a friend's phone. Look, we need to talk. This is crazy. Whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Call me back. I deleted the message and went back to reviewing staffing schedules. They'd excluded me from the reunion. Now they could experience what exclusion actually felt like, not from family, but from a place they'd taken for granted. The reservation window was closing. In 72 hours, the Evergreen Wing would be released for general booking. I wondered how long they'd wait before swallowing their pride. I wondered if they even had enough pride left to swallow. The calls started coming through the resort's main line, professional, persistent, and increasingly desperate. Pine Ridge Mountain Resort, how may I direct your call? Our receptionist, Janet, had perfected a tone of polite disinterest. I need to speak to the owner immediately. This is Richard Harrison. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison, but the owner isn't available. May I take a message? He hung up. 20 minutes later. This is Victoria Harrison. I demand to speak with whoever's in charge. Of course, Mrs. Harrison. May I ask what this is regarding? Our family reunion. We've been coming there for 20 years. How wonderful. Do you have a confirmation number? Click. By day 3, they'd recruited extended family to make inquiries. Cousins, aunts, in-laws, all calling with various cover stories, trying to determine who owned the resort and how to reach them. I monitored it all from my office, Margaret's decades of meticulous records spread before me. The Harrisons had indeed been loyal guests. They'd also received an average discount of 60% off standard rates, priority booking status, and countless special accommodations. Loyal guests don't always make good business, Margaret had said gently when showing me the numbers. We kept their rates low out of sentiment. Sentiment. Another word for being taken advantage of. The family's panic reached new heights when local hotels reported full bookings. A major skiing competition had filled every room within 50 miles. If they wanted their reunion, Pine Ridge was their only option at full price. I was reviewing restaurant inventory when Janet knocked. Ms. Chen, there's a woman in the lobby who says she's your sister. She doesn't have a reservation but insists on seeing you. Elena. Of course. I found her in the grand lobby, perched on a leather armchair like a queen holding court. She'd dressed for impact designer coat, perfect makeup, the diamond earrings I'd bought her for her 30th birthday. Maya. She stood when she saw me, attempting a smile. You look official. I'd deliberately worn my most conservative business suit. Elena, what brings you to Pine Ridge? Don't play games. Her smile cracked. We know you bought this place. The resort was purchased by Chen Hospitality Holdings LLC, I corrected. How can we help you today? She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Are you seriously going to pretend? She stopped, took a breath. Recalibrated. Maya, this has gone far enough. The family is upset. The family? Your family. Our family. The core family, you mean, the one I'm not part of. Her face flushed. That was taken out of context. Was it because the context seemed pretty clear when I wasn't included on the reunion invite, or in the planning, or in any family events for the past 3 years? You were always busy. I was always available. You just never asked. Silence stretched between us. Behind Elena, guests moved through the lobby, skiing equipment in tow, laughter echoing off the vaulted ceilings. The life of the resort continuing without pause. How much? Elena finally asked. Excuse me, to book the Evergreen Wing, for the reunion. I pulled out my phone, checked the system. $15,000 for the week, plus meals, activities, and incidentals. She went pale. That's 3 times what we usually pay. That's the standard rate. The previous owners were very generous with their discounts. Maya, please. Her voice cracked. Everyone's already taken time off work. The kids are excited. Mom's been planning this for months. Planning without me? I said I was sorry. No, actually, you didn't. She blinked, caught off guard. Well, I'm sorry. There. Happy. I'm not looking for apologies, Elena. I'm running a business. This is revenge. This is market value. If the family wants to book, they're welcome to. At the same rate we offer all our guests. Her perfectly composed face finally crumbled. You know we can't afford that. Then perhaps you should have thought about that before alienating the person who's been subsidizing your lifestyle for a decade. The words hung in the air like ice crystals. Elena's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I should go. She finally managed. The highway can be tricky after dark. I offered. Drive safely. She left without another word, her heels clicking against the marble floor in sharp, angry staccatos. That night, the family chat exploded again. Sophia sent me screenshots, unable to hide her glee. She's completely lost it, acting like she doesn't even know us. $15,000, that's extortion. We should sue. For what? Charging market rates? There has to be something illegal about this. Then from my mother. This is what happens when you give girls too much independence. They forget where they came from. I stared at that message for a long time. Forget where I came from. I remembered every birthday. They forgot every achievement they dismissed, every crisis where I was the first called and last thanked. I hadn't forgotten anything. I'd just finally stopped pretending it was enough. The next morning brought a new strategy. Dad arrived unannounced, catching me in the restaurant during breakfast service. We need to talk, he declared, pulling out a chair at my table without invitation. I continued eating my oatmeal. Good morning to you too. Cut the crap, Maya. What's this really about? Money, attention? What do you want? I want to finish my breakfast. His face went red. I'm your father. Yes, and I'm a 35-year-old woman who owns this resort. Would you like to discuss a reservation, or are you here to make another scene? A scene. You're the one destroying this family. No, I'm the one who stopped enabling it. He leaned forward, voice dropping to what he probably thought was an intimidating whisper. You end this nonsense right now, or you're out of the will. I actually laughed. Dad, I've been writing your mortgage checks for 5 years. What exactly do you think you have left to leave anyone? The color drained from his face. He hadn't known I knew about the second mortgage, the bad investments, the debt he'd hidden from Mom. You can't. I can. I have. And I'm done. I stood leaving my half-finished breakfast. If you'd like to book a room, see Janet at the front desk. Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to leave. You're making a mistake, he called after me. Family is forever. So is self-respect, I replied without turning around. But they weren't done. Oh no, the Harrisons didn't accept defeat that easily. Next came the social media campaign carefully orchestrated to paint me as the villain who'd stolen their family tradition. Mom's Facebook post went viral in our extended network. Some children grow up to appreciate their roots. Others grow up to burn them down. Praying for healing in our family during this difficult time. The comments poured in. So sorry you're going through this. Children can be so ungrateful. Money changes people. But then something interesting happened. Other voices emerged. Isn't Maya the one who paid for the reunion every year? I remember she organized everything while the rest of you relaxed. Funny how it's family tradition when you need her money. Margaret Weatherby herself chimed in. In 20 years of hosting the Harrisons, Maya was the only one who ever thanked our staff or helped clean up. Just saying. The narrative was shifting, and my family didn't like it one bit. The article appeared in the Seattle Times business section 3 days later. Local executives' hostile takeover leaves family in the cold. They'd actually hired a PR firm. I had to admire the commitment to the victim narrative. The piece was a masterclass in manipulation. I was painted as a corporate climber who put profit over family, someone who had systematically planned to humiliate her parents and siblings. They'd even found a photo of me from a company event where I wasn't smiling, captioned, Maya Chen at a business function displaying the cold demeanor colleagues describe as calculating. The quotes were particularly creative. She was always distant, an anonymous family member shared. We tried to include her, but she preferred her career over connections. This feels like revenge for imagined slights, another source close to the family revealed. The family has always been nothing but supportive. My phone buzzed with messages from colleagues, friends, even clients who'd seen the article. The damage to my professional reputation was real and immediate. But Marcus had made a crucial error in his eagerness to paint me as the villain. He'd mentioned specific dates and events. The reunion I'd refused to help plan in 2020, I had emails proving I'd organized the entire thing while recovering from COVID. The birthday dinner I'd selfishly skipped. I'd been in the hospital with Mom paying for her surgery. I called my lawyer. "They've given us a gift," she said after reviewing everything. "They've put their lies in print. We can prove defamation with documentation." "I don't want to sue them," I said. "I want the truth out there." "Then let's give them what they asked for transparency." I spent the next day compiling evidence, bank statements showing the hundreds of thousands I'd given them over the years, text messages begging me for money while simultaneously mocking my obsession with work, email threads where they planned family events, deliberately scheduling them during my critical work periods. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source: my cousin Jamie, the family photographer. "I'm done watching this," she said, arriving at the resort with a flash drive. "You need to see these." She'd kept everything. Years of family photos, including the ones they'd posted publicly with me carefully cropped out. The originals showed me there, always on the edges, always separate even when physically present. "This one's from Elena's wedding," Jamie explained, pulling up a photo. "You paid for everything: the venue, the dress, the honeymoon. But look at the version she posted. Cropped, edited, erased. And here's the reunion from 2018. You organized it, cooked half the meals, and handled all the logistics while 8 months pregnant with work projects." The caption Mom posted, "Wonderful family time with our core group." Photo after photo, year after year, the pattern was undeniable. I wasn't just excluded from the narrative, I was actively removed from it. "Post them," I said quietly. "Are you sure?" "They wanted to make this public. Let's make it public." Jamie created a simple Facebook album, the whole picture what really happened at Harrison family events. Each photo included context: Maya arranging the 2019 reunion while the family relaxed, Maya paying the dinner bill again at Dad's birthday, Maya's graduation dinner that she organized and paid for herself because everyone forgot. The response was immediate and devastating for them. Comments flooded in from extended family, old friends, community members who'd watched this dynamic play out for years. I always wondered why Maya looked so tired at these events. "The editing is so obvious now that you see the originals. This is heartbreaking. That poor girl." But the real blow came from an unexpected source: Harold Weatherby. The elderly former resort owner had been following the drama from Bermuda and decided he'd seen enough. His statement, posted publicly and tagged to ensure maximum visibility, was devastating in its simplicity. "My wife and I ran Pine Ridge Mountain Resort for 40 years. In all that time, Maya Harrison, now Chen, was the only member of her family who ever inquired about our well-being, helped our staff, or showed genuine kindness without expecting something in return. The family discount the Harrisons enjoyed. Maya secretly paid the difference for the last 10 years to ensure we didn't lose money on their reunions. She never asked for credit or recognition. When she approached us about buying the resort, her first concern was ensuring our staff would keep their jobs and benefits. She paid above asking price to ensure we could retire comfortably. The Harrisons are upset about losing their discount. Perhaps they should ask themselves why their daughter felt the need to subsidize their vacations while being excluded from them. We stand fully behind Maya and her vision for Pine Ridge. She's bringing integrity to a place that was being taken advantage of by those who should have valued it most. The post went viral in the local community. 3 news outlets requested interviews. The narrative was shifting so fast my family couldn't keep up. Elena tried damage control with her own post. Family matters should stay private. It's sad that some people need public validation for their contributions. Real love doesn't keep score. The response was swift and merciless. Doesn't keep score. You literally posted a spreadsheet of reunion costs demanding everyone pay their fair share, except Maya. Real love also doesn't crop people out of photos, Elena. Private. You hired a PR firm to smear your sister in the newspaper. Marcus, never one for subtlety, went on the attack. Everyone defending Maya doesn't know the whole story. She's always been manipulative, using money to control people. Classic narcissist behavior. That's when Sophia entered the chat. My best friend had stayed quiet until now, but Marcus's accusation broke her silence. She posted a single screenshot, a text conversation from 2 years ago, where Marcus begged me for $30,000 to save his failing business, promising to pay it back within 6 months. His messages were desperate, pleading, calling me the only real family he had. At the bottom, my response: of course. Family helps family. Don't worry about paying it back. Consider it a gift. The date stamp showed it was sent the same day he'd posted in the family chat, calling me selfish and disconnected from reality. The internet, as they say, did not forget or forgive. Within hours, Josh family receipts keep trending locally. People began sharing their own stories of family financial abuse, of being the successful one who was simultaneously relied upon and resented. My LinkedIn exploded with connection requests and messages of support. 3 clients reached out to express their respect for how I'd handled the situation. One even increased their contract with my firm, specifically requesting I lead their account. But the most unexpected support came from my team at work. They'd seen the article, investigated the truth, and were furious on my behalf. We're drafting a statement, my CEO informed me. Nobody smears one of our executives without consequences. Legal is reviewing options. That's not necessary. Maya, you've brought in 40% of our revenue growth this year while dealing with this. It's absolutely necessary. We protect our own. Our own. The words hit differently when they came from people who actually meant them. That evening, as I walked through the resort grounds, I found Margaret sitting by the fireplace in the main lodge. Rough week? She asked gently. Getting better, I admitted, joining her. Harold's quite proud of his post. He's been refreshing it every hour to see new comments. I laughed despite everything. Tell him thank you. He didn't have to do that. Oh, my dear. Margaret patted my hand. That's where you're wrong. When someone shows you who they really are through their actions, not their words, you absolutely have to stand up for them. You've shown us who you are for 20 years. Your family is just now showing us who they've always been. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. They'd resorted to buying burner phones. Maya, this is Mom. The reunion is in 3 days. Please, can we work something out? I stared at the message. 3 days. They'd waited until the last possible moment, sure I'd cave. I typed back, "The Evergreen Wing is still available at full price. Janet can help you with the booking." Then I blocked the number. The truth was out there now. The receipts, as Sophia called them, had been shown. What they did with that truth was no longer my concern. But I had a feeling the reunion, if it happened at all, would look very different this year. The morning of what should have been their check-in day, I stood in the lobby watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold. The Evergreen Wing remained unbooked. They'd called my bluff and lost. Janet approached with her usual morning report and a knowing smile. 3 cancellations from the restaurant for tonight. The Harrison party, I assume. I assume so. And we have several new bookings. Apparently, your story has made us something of a destination for people dealing with similar family situations. We're calling it the Choose Yourself package. I blinked. The what? She handed me a printout of reviews that had poured in over the past week. Finally, a place that understands boundaries. The owner's story inspired me to stop enabling my toxic siblings. Came here to heal from family trauma. Perfect atmosphere for new beginnings. Without meaning to, I'd turned Pine Ridge into a haven for people escaping family dysfunction. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed with a text from Jamie. "You need to see the family chat. They're imploding." I'd resisted looking at the screenshots for days, but curiosity won. What I saw was better than any reality TV drama. The family had split into factions. Some blamed Elena for the core family comment that started everything. Others blamed Marcus for escalating with the newspaper article. A few distant relatives were demanding to know why they'd been paying inflated reunion fees all these years if I'd been covering the real costs. But the real bombshell came from an unexpected source. Dad's brother, Uncle Stephen, who'd been silent throughout the drama. "I'm done pretending," his message read. "Richard, you've been living off Maya since she got her first real job. You gambled away your retirement and she bailed you out. You refinanced the house twice, and she covered it. You treat her like an ATM, and then wonder why she cut you off. I'm ashamed to share your last name." The floodgates opened. Aunt Patricia. "Victoria, remember when you told everyone Maya was too busy to visit me in the hospital? She was there every day. You were the one who never came." Cousin Michael. "Fun fact, Maya paid for my college textbooks for 4 years and never told anyone. Meanwhile, Marcus borrowed my car and returned it with an empty tank and a dent." Great Aunt Dorothy. "That girl sent me birthday cards every year with handwritten notes. The rest of you can't even spell my name right." The family narrative was crumbling in real time. Every grievance, every buried truth, every unspoken resentment surfaced in a digital avalanche. Then came the photo that broke everything wide open. Jamie posted it without warning, a picture from Christmas 2015. The original showed the entire family around the tree, me standing slightly apart holding a garbage bag because I'd been cleaning up wrapping paper while everyone else opened gifts. The posted version had me cropped out entirely with Mom's caption reading, "Perfect family Christmas that you're blessed." But Jamie had noticed something in the original that no one else had caught. In the background, barely visible, was a whiteboard where someone had written the gift list. Next to each person's name was who'd bought their presents. 90% of the gifts listed as "from Maya." She literally played Santa for everyone and then got edited out of Christmas. Jamie's comment read, "I'm done staying quiet about this dysfunction." The revelation triggered an avalanche of similar memories from extended family and friends. "Remember when Maya threw Victoria that surprise 60th birthday party? Victoria told everyone Elena organized it. Maya tutored Marcus through college math while working full-time. He told people he passed on his own. She gave Elena her wedding dress savings when Elena's venue fell through. Elena said it was a family contribution." The truth wasn't just emerging, it was erupting. My phone rang. An unknown number with a local area code. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Maya." Mom's voice sounded different, smaller. We're in the parking lot. I looked out the window. There they were. Mom's sedan, Dad's truck, Elena's SUV, all parked haphazardly near the entrance. They'd driven here anyway, despite having no reservation, no plan, no leverage. "We have vacancy if you'd like to book," I said evenly. "We can't afford—" She trailed off. "Can we just talk, please?" I considered it. The CEO in me said no, never negotiate from a position of weakness. But the daughter in me, the one who still remembered bedtime stories and birthday candles before everything went wrong, whispered yes. "Conference room B," I said. 10 minutes. I chose the business setting deliberately. This wasn't a family meeting, it was a reckoning. They filed in looking smaller than I remembered. Mom's perfect makeup was smudged. Dad's shoulders slumped. Elena had traded her designer clothes for jeans and a sweater. Even Marcus looked subdued. They sat on one side of the table. I sat on the other. The power dynamic was clear. "Well?" I asked. They exchanged glances, each waiting for someone else to start. Finally, Mom spoke. "We read Harold's post about you paying the difference all those years." Her voice cracked. "Is it true? Does it matter?" "Of course it matters," Elena burst out. We said things. You said I was a freeloader. You excluded me from the reunion. You tried to destroy my reputation." I kept my voice level. "What exactly do you think discovering I subsidized your vacations changes?" Silence. Dad cleared his throat. "We may have misunderstood the situation." Misunderstood. I laughed short and sharp. "You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think there'd be consequences." "We're family," Marcus tried. "Family forgives. Family doesn't crop each other out of photos. Family doesn't charge each other for dinner at their own parents' house. Family doesn't hire PR firms to destroy each other's careers." Each point landed like a physical blow. I watched them flinch, shrink, absorb the weight of their own actions. "What do you want?" Mom finally asked. "An apology. You have it. We're sorry." "For what?" "What? What are you sorry for specifically?" They exchanged those glances again. Even now, even faced with everything, they couldn't articulate what they'd done wrong. The exclusion was so ingrained, so natural to them, they couldn't see it as cruelty. "I'm sorry for—" Elena started, then stopped. "For making you feel— for editing me out of family photos." Her face went red. "That wasn't— I didn't mean—" "For telling people I organized your wedding while taking credit for it." Deeper red. "For cashing my checks while calling me materialistic." She looked down at the table. I turned to Marcus. "How about you?" "Sorry for the $30,000 I gave you while you told people I was selfish." His jaw clenched. To Dad, "Sorry for the gambling debts I paid, the mortgage I covered, the retirement fund I'm still rebuilding for you." He wouldn't meet my eyes. To Mom, "Sorry for every birthday you forgot, every achievement you dismissed, every time you introduced me as the one who's always working instead of our daughter." Tears ran down her face, but I was past being moved by them. "You want forgiveness? Earn it. You want back in my life. Show me you're capable of seeing me as more than a bank account with abandonment issues." "How?" Mom whispered. "That's for you to figure out. I've spent 35 years trying to earn a place at your table. Now it's your turn." I stood. The meeting was over. "The resort offers therapy retreats," I added, pausing at the door. "Dr. Morrison specializes in family dynamics and financial abuse. I'll comp the first session if you're actually interested in changing." "And if we do?" Elena asked. "If we do the work? Then maybe we can build something new." "But the old dynamic? The one where I pay for everything and gratefully accept whatever crumbs of affection you throw my way, that's dead. I left them sitting in that conference room staring at the table at each other at the truth they could no longer avoid. 2 hours later, Janet informed me they'd booked separate rooms at full price and scheduled appointments with Dr. Morrison. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was a start. Maybe. I should have known they wouldn't go quietly. The letter arrived on resort letterhead from Graham and Associates, the most expensive law firm in Seattle. Elena must have called in every favor from her country club connections to afford their retainer. Dear Ms. Chen, it began, we represent the Harrison family in the matter of fraudulent property acquisition and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They were suing me for buying the resort, for manipulating the situation to cause deliberate harm to family relationships. I read it twice, then laughed. Actually laughed. They'd spent decades inflicting emotional distress, and now they wanted compensation for experiencing consequences. My lawyer, Diane, was less amused when I forwarded it to her. They're claiming you had insider knowledge about the property sale and used it to target them specifically, she explained over video call. They want damages for lost family traditions, emotional suffering, and this is my favorite part, destruction of family harmony. Family harmony, I repeated. They excluded me from everything for years. Which is why we're going to bury them in discovery. They just opened every financial transaction, every email, every text message to legal scrutiny. They have no idea what they've done. She was right. In their desperation to punish me, they'd given me the legal right to demand documentation of everything, including their own financial records. The discovery process was revealing. My legal team requested 5 years of communications, and what came back was a treasure trove of entitlement and manipulation. There were emails between my parents discussing how to get more money from me without making it too obvious. Texts between Elena and Marcus mocking my generosity while planning their next request. A particularly damning message from Dad to his golf buddy. Maya's good for it. Kid doesn't know how to say no to family. We raised her right. But the most shocking discovery came from their financial records. While I'd been paying their bills, they'd been hiding assets. Dad had a boat I didn't know about. Mom had been funneling money to Marcus for his failed business ventures, money she'd told me they didn't have when I was covering their mortgage. Elena had nearly $50,000 in savings while still hitting me up for emergencies every few months. They've been playing you for years, Diane said, reviewing the documents. This isn't just family dysfunction. This is systematic financial exploitation. Can we countersue? Oh, honey? She smiled. We're going to do more than that. The mediation was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. The resort was busy with a corporate retreat, so I'd arranged for us to meet at a neutral location, a conference room, at a downtown hotel. I arrived early, dressed in my sharpest suit. Power dressing, Sophia called it. Armor, I corrected. They came in together, a united front that would have been touching if it weren't so calculated. Mom clutched Dad's arm. Elena wore her court outfit, the one she thought made her look sympathetic. Marcus had even gotten a haircut. Their lawyer Graham himself was exactly what I'd expected. Silver-haired, expensive suit, the kind of smile that charged $500 an hour. Let's see if we can resolve this without unnecessary litigation, he began smoothly. My clients have suffered significant emotional and financial damages. Financial damages, Diane interrupted. Your clients haven't paid full price for a vacation in 20 years. They've been subsidized by my client to the tune of, she consulted her notes, $847,000 over the past decade. The number hung in the air like a bomb. That's ridiculous, Dad sputtered. Is it? Diane pulled out a binder. Shall we go through it? $200,000 in direct cash transfers, $150,000 in covered bills, $75,000 in loans that were never repaid, $50,000 in gifts that were apparently forgotten. Should I continue? Mom's face had gone pale. We didn't. We never asked. No, you just expected. And when Maya finally stopped giving you, tried to destroy her reputation. Diane's voice was steel. Which brings us to our countersuit. She slid a document across the table. Defamation. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable party. Yes, being conditioned from childhood to financially support your family makes you vulnerable. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. And my personal favorite fraud. Fraud. Graham's smooth demeanor cracked. Your clients hid assets while accepting money under false pretenses. They claimed financial hardship while maintaining luxury purchases. That's textbook fraud. Elena started to cry. Marcus muttered curses under his breath. Mom gripped Dad's hand so tight her knuckles went white. What do you want? Graham asked, all pretense of control gone. Diane looked at me. This was my moment. I want it to stop, I said simply. All of it. The lawsuits, the social media campaigns, the character assassination. I want them to acknowledge publicly that I supported them for years while being systematically excluded from the family. Publicly? Mom gasped. You made it public when you hired a PR firm to smear me in the newspaper. And if we refuse, Graham asked, then we go to trial. Every receipt, every text, every email becomes public record. Every family friend, every colleague, everyone in your social circle will see exactly how you've treated your daughter for the past decade. Silence stretched between us. I watched them realize they were trapped by their own actions. Finally, Graham leaned over to whisper with his clients. There was heated discussion, Elena's voice rising briefly before being hushed. After several minutes, he turned back. My clients agree to drop the lawsuit and cease all public commentary about this matter. And the acknowledgement. More whispered consultation. They'll agree to a private letter of acknowledgement. Public, I insisted. Same platforms they used to attack me. Mom looked at me, then really looked at me for the first time in years. You really hate us that much. I don't hate you, I said truthfully. I nothing you. That's what happens when you erase someone from your life. Eventually they return the favor. The words hit harder than any accusation. Mom's tears flowed freely now. Dad stared at the table. Elena had stopped pretending to cry and just looked exhausted. Marcus wouldn't look at anyone. Fine, Graham said finally. Public acknowledgement, but my clients want assurance that Ms. Chen won't pursue the countersuit. Diane and I exchanged glances. Agreed, she said. Provided the acknowledgement is satisfactory and all harassment ceases immediately. Papers were signed. Hands weren't shaken. As they prepared to leave, Dad paused at the door. The therapy, he said quietly. At the resort. Were you serious about that? I met his eyes. First session's free. After that, you pay full price like everyone else. He nodded, something like understanding passing between us. Then they were gone, leaving me alone with Diane and the weight of what had just happened. You could have destroyed them, she observed, packing up her files. They destroyed themselves. I just refused to be collateral damage. That evening, I sat in my office at the resort watching the sun set over the mountains. My phone buzzed with notifications their public apology had gone live. It was carefully worded, probably by their lawyer, but it contained the essential truth: they'd excluded me while accepting my support, and they were wrong. The comments were already pouring in. Some supported them for being brave enough to admit mistakes. Others saw through the legal language to the reality beneath. But I didn't read them. I was done caring what strangers thought about my family drama. Jamie texted, "Saw the post. You okay?" "Getting there," I replied. And I was. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to earn my place in a family that didn't want me. I was building something new, something mine, something that no one could take away or edit me out of. The resort phone rang. A new booking request. As I talked to the potential guest, another adult child of difficult parents seeking a peaceful place to heal, I realized something. I hadn't just bought a resort, I'd created a sanctuary. For people like me, like us, who'd been told family was everything while being treated like nothing. The Harrisons could have their public apology, their carefully maintained image, their hollow traditions. I had something better: freedom. 6 months later, I stood on the deck of the Mountain View restaurant watching the sunrise paint the peaks in shades of rose and gold. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and possibility. Maya? Janet appeared with her tablet and a knowing smile. The Harrison party checked in last night. I turned surprised. Harrison party? Your cousin Jamie. She booked the Evergreen Wing for a Choose Your Family reunion. Apparently it's becoming a thing. I pulled up the booking on my phone. There they were. Jamie, Sophia, Aunt Dorothy, Uncle Stephen, and a dozen other relatives and chosen family members who'd stood by me during the chaos. They'd paid full price, left glowing reviews in advance, and even requested our new boundary-setting workshop as part of their package. Oh, and this came for you. Janet handed me an envelope, expensive cream stationery with familiar handwriting. I opened it slowly. Mom's careful script filled the page. Maya, Dr. Morrison says I should write without expectation of response, that this is about my growth, not your forgiveness. I've been thinking about your mermaid, the one you built when you were 10, the one Trinity claimed. I knew it was yours. I chose the easier lie over the harder truth. I've been doing that for 30 years. The resort looks beautiful. I saw the virtual tour online. You've made it into something special, a place for people who need what we never gave you: acceptance without conditions. I won't ask to visit. I haven't earned that right. But I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see you now. Too late, but clearly. Your father is working with Dr. Morrison twice a week. Real work, not performance. Elena is in therapy too, dealing with why she needed to diminish you to feel secure. Marcus. Well, Marcus is Marcus, but even he's starting to ask the right questions. As for me, I'm learning to be a mother who doesn't require her children to be anything other than themselves. I'm sorry it took losing you to learn that. No response needed. I just needed you to know. Mom. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and tucked it into my pocket. Growth was possible, apparently, even for the Harrisons. Whether it would lead anywhere remained to be seen. Ms. Chen. A new voice interrupted my thoughts. I'm Sarah Williams from Mountain Living magazine. We're here for the interview. Right. The magazine feature about women entrepreneurs who'd transform their lives through bold business moves. My story had caught their attention, not the family drama, but the vision I'd built from its ashes. Of course. Let's start in the lobby. As we walked through the resort, I pointed out the changes we'd made. The meditation garden where the old tennis courts used to be. The therapy center that had replaced the formal dining room nobody used. The library of resources for people dealing with difficult families curated by Dr. Morrison. This is more than a resort. Sarah observed her photographer capturing the morning light streaming through the windows. It's a healing space. That's the idea. Vacations end. Healing continues. We passed the Evergreen Wing where laughter already echoed from Jamie's group. Through the windows, I saw them gathered around a breakfast spread, chosen family creating new traditions in a space that had witnessed so much pain transformed into purpose. And your biological family? Sarah asked gently. Any reconciliation there? I considered the question, thinking of Mom's letter of Dad's weekly therapy appointments that Janet mentioned he never missed, of Elena's awkward but genuine attempt to call on my birthday last month. We're all works in progress, I said finally. They're doing their work, I'm doing mine. Maybe someday those paths will cross in a healthy way. Maybe not. Either way, I'm good. And I was. The resort was thriving. We'd been featured in 3 wellness magazines and had bookings through next year. I'd hired 2 assistant managers and was considering properties in Colorado and Vermont. But more importantly, I'd built a life that wasn't defined by what others withheld. I'd learned that family could be chosen, that love didn't require sacrifice of self, and that the best revenge wasn't revenge at all. It was building something beautiful from the ashes of what tried to burn you. That afternoon, I hosted a welcome reception for Jamie's group. As I raised my glass of locally sourced apple cider, I looked around at the faces of people who'd chosen to stand with truth over comfort, with integrity over ease. To chosen family, I toasted. To the people who see us not for what we can provide, but for who we are. To boundaries that honor our worth and connections that celebrate our growth. And to Pine Ridge, may it always be a place where people come not to escape their lives, but to build better ones. The cheer that went up echoed off the mountains, carrying across the valley like a promise. Later, as evening painted the sky in purples and indigos, I found myself back on my favorite deck. The turquoise sea glass from my office caught the last rays of sun, throwing prisms across the wooden railing. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, then recognized the area code Bermuda. Dear Maya, it read. Margaret and I have been following your transformation of Pine Ridge. You've turned our family business into something we never imagined, a place of healing and hope. We're proud to have passed it to someone who understood that the best families are the ones we build, not the ones we're born into. Keep shining. Harold and Margaret. I smiled, tucking the phone away. In the distance, an eagle circled the peaks, riding thermals higher and higher until it was just a speck against the endless sky. The Harrisons had taught me many things, though not the lessons they'd intended. They'd taught me that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, that sacrifice without reciprocity is slow-motion self-destruction, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. But most importantly, they'd taught me that when people show you who they are through actions, not words, you should believe them the first time. The resort hummed with life around me. Guests finding peace, staff who'd become friends, a business built on the radical idea that everyone deserved to be seen and valued. I'd spent 35 years trying to earn a seat at a table that was never set for me. Now I owned the whole damn restaurant. And everyone was welcome at my table. As the first stars appeared above the mountains, I raised my glass of wine to the sky in a private toast. To the girl who built sandcastles and mermaids, who paid the bills and cleaned up the messes, who loved without measure, and finally learned to love herself most of all. She had always been enough. I had always been enough. And that truth, more than any property deed or bank balance, was the real fortune I'd claimed. Before you go, have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own well-being? What did that journey teach you about the true meaning of family? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Remember, sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is give ourselves permission to build the life and the family we deserve.